Welcome to a world where every shadow hides a story and every silence carries a secret. Tonight, we step into another chilling tale that will keep you awake long after the lights go out. So sit back, turn off the lights, and let's start the video. In the quiet town of Marrow Ridge, there was a dead zone where phones lost service completely. Locals avoided it after sundown, whispering about strange lights flickering in the fog and voices on the wind. One evening, a college student named Daniel took a shortcut through the woods after missing his bus. His phone buzzed strangely, showing no service, but still receiving one chilling text message. "Don't look behind you." Daniel froze. His heart thudded in his chest. The woods around him were silent, yet the message kept repeating, each time with more urgency. He tried to dismiss it as a prank, but then he noticed. His phone battery had been dead for hours. Daniel hurried forward, trying to ignore the phone that now buzzed violently in his trembling hands. Another text appeared. "We see you." He felt the cold sting of paranoia, like someone was watching from deep in the trees. A faint sound followed him. Footsteps, perfectly in sync with his own. He spun around. Nothing, just fog and trees. But when he lifted the phone again, its camera had activated by itself, showing a distorted live view of the path. And in the background, behind him, stood a tall, shadowy figure, barely visible in the static. Panic surged through him. He broke into a run, clutching the phone like a lifeline. The messages didn't stop. "Don't run!" Too late. "We're closer now." Branches clawed at his arms as he stumbled over roots, gasping for breath. He dared not look back, but the phone screen kept glitching, every time showing that same figure, closer each time. The chilling realization hit him. The figure wasn't following him normally. It was jumping forward each time his phone screen flickered. Daniel tripped and crashed into a clearing. His phone slipped from his hand, landing face up. He reached for it, but froze. On the screen was a live feed of himself, lying in the clearing. Except in the video, the shadow stood directly above him. A cold breath brushed the back of his neck. His shaking hands grabbed the phone, and in that instant a final message appeared across the cracked glass. "You should have never answered." The screen went black, and for the first time Daniel realized he wasn't alone. Daniel's breathing turned ragged. The woods pressed in around him, silent except for the distant creak of branches. His phone flickered back on by itself. The screen glowed red, showing a map of the forest, his exact location marked by a pulsing dot. But there was another dot, moving slowly toward him. He staggered to his feet, clutching the phone as if it were his only weapon. The dot kept closing the distance. Daniel bolted deeper into the forest, branches snapping underfoot. The dot didn't stop. It seemed to know every turn he took, every desperate attempt to escape. At last, Daniel spotted the faint lights of an abandoned radio tower rising above the trees. He stumbled toward it, convinced that if he could just climb higher, maybe he'd get a real signal and call for help. The tower groaned in the wind, its rusted frame looming over him like a skeleton. He scrambled up the metal ladder, his phone clenched between his teeth. Halfway up, the phone buzzed again, this time with a chilling message that froze him mid-step. "Higher won't save you." He looked down. At the base of the tower, through the haze of fog, the shadowy figure waited, staring up at him. Daniel reached the top and pulled himself onto the platform, heart hammering. He raised his phone, hoping for a signal. To his shock, the screen filled with static, then cleared, showing a live feed of the town below, bathed in unnatural light. But there was no movement, no cars, no people. The phone buzzed again. A new text appeared. "Look closer." Daniel zoomed in with shaking fingers. His stomach dropped. Every single house in Marrow Ridge had a shadowy figure standing outside, all of them facing the tower, all of them facing him. The phone began to vibrate violently, nearly slipping from Daniel's grip. His screen went black again. Then, one final message lit up, larger than any before. "You are the signal now." Daniel's body froze. His reflection appeared on the screen, but it wasn't him. His eyes were black voids, his mouth twisted into a silent scream. The phone slipped from his hand, tumbling down the tower. He tried to cry out, but no sound came. In the woods below, every shadowy figure lifted their heads in unison. And the last thing Daniel saw before everything went dark was his own face smiling back from hundreds of glowing screens all across Marrow Ridge. Daniel woke up lying on the cold metal platform. The forest below was silent, too silent. His phone, cracked from the fall, was back in his hand. The screen glowed faintly, though the battery should have been dead. It showed a countdown. 59:59, 59:58, 59:57, 1 hour. A whisper slid through the static of the wind, though no one was near. "You have 1 hour left to spread the signal." Daniel stumbled down from the tower, his legs weak. He didn't know what would happen when the timer reached 0, but he knew he didn't want to find out. As he wandered back into town, the streets stretched out empty, every house dark and lifeless. But the closer he looked, the more he noticed small movements in the shadows. Curtains shifting, doors creaking open slowly, as if something unseen lurked inside. His phone vibrated again. "Knock, they are waiting." Daniel's hand trembled as he reached a house. He knocked once. The door opened by itself. Inside, the living room glowed faintly with the light of an old television, broadcasting only static. In the reflection of the screen, a figure sat on the couch, motionless, staring. Daniel tripped and crashed into a clearing. His phone slipped from his hand, landing face up. He reached for it, but froze. On the screen was a live feed of himself, lying in the clearing. Except in the video, the shadow stood directly above him. A cold breath brushed the back of his neck. His shaking hands grabbed the phone, and in that instant a final message appeared across the cracked glass. "You should have never answered." The screen went black, and for the first time Daniel realized he wasn't alone. The figure on the couch slowly turned its head toward Daniel. Its face was pale and blurred, as though unfinished. It lifted a phone from its lap and held it toward him. The phone lit up with his own reflection again, distorted and screaming. Daniel backed away in horror. Suddenly, every television in the neighborhood flickered on at once, static roaring like a storm. The countdown ticked lower, 41:22, 41:21. Daniel realized the truth. The signal wasn't just on his phone, it was infecting every screen, every device, and now it wanted him to spread it further. Panicked, Daniel ran back into the streets. The shadows followed. Some of them were human-shaped, others stretched too tall, too thin, their limbs bending unnaturally. Everywhere he turned, more figures emerged, all clutching glowing phones. The signal hummed in the air, vibrating through the ground. Daniel's phone buzzed violently and displayed a new message. "Once the timer ends, you belong to us." His breath caught. He had less than 40 minutes to find a way out of Marrow Ridge, or be consumed by the signal forever. Daniel sprinted through the main street, every shop window reflecting his distorted face. Neon signs flickered, buzzing with static. He pushed open the diner door, hoping for safety. Inside, the smell of burnt grease and rot filled the air. Half-eaten meals sat on tables, still steaming, as though abandoned only moments ago. The jukebox in the corner crackled alive, but instead of music, it whispered his name. "Daniel, Daniel, Daniel." He smashed it with his fist, but the whispers grew louder, now echoing from every object in the room. He clutched his phone, and the timer showed 34:11, 34:10. His time was bleeding away. The diner's windows went black, as though night itself pressed against the glass. Slowly, handprints appeared, dozens of them, pressing from the outside. The sound of nails scratching against the glass filled the air. Daniel backed toward the kitchen door, his breath heavy. He pushed inside. The kitchen was dark, the freezers humming. But then, every freezer door swung open at once. Inside each freezer was not food, but glowing phones stacked like frozen organs. Every screen showed the same message: "You cannot hide." Daniel ran out the back door of the diner into a narrow alley. The sound of buzzing static chased him like a swarm of insects. He collapsed against a wall, panting. Then he noticed graffiti covering the brick walls. At first just scribbles, but when he looked closer, every word was his name, dozens of times in dripping black paint. "Daniel!" His phone vibrated violently. A new message appeared. "They already know you. They always did." Daniel dropped the phone in terror, but even as it hit the ground, another phone slid from the shadows, glowing with the same countdown, 29:03, 29:02. The static on the old radio grew louder that night. Emma had tried everything to silence it, pulling the batteries, unplugging the cord, even tossing the entire unit into the shed outside. But at 3:17 a.m, the crackle returned. This time, it wasn't just static. A distorted voice bled through the noise, broken yet deliberate. "You should not have stayed." Emma froze in her bed. The farmhouse groaned with the weight of the storm outside. She thought of leaving, but the roads were still washed out. She was trapped. Her phone buzzed once. No number, no message, just a notification. Signal detected. Emma couldn't breathe. The air around her thickened as the faceless figure stepped closer. She staggered back, knocking over a chair. The radio screeched and the sound felt like knives in her skull. Then, silence. The figure was gone. The room was empty. But Emma knew better. She could feel it watching from somewhere unseen, slipping between frequencies, waiting for the next moment of weakness. Her phone buzzed again. This time there was a message, just one word: run. But outside, the fog hadn't lifted, and she had nowhere left to go. Emma barricaded the doors and windows, every creak of the house now a warning. She sat in the living room with a flashlight, trembling when the radio turned itself back on. The voice this time wasn't distorted. It was crystal clear, calm, almost familiar. You cannot silence what was never alive. The air grew colder. Her breath misted in front of her. The flashlight dimmed, then died. From the dark corner of the room a figure moved, tall, faceless, its presence bending the air around it, and then, in the dead silence, the radio whispered, "Part of the signal is already inside you." Sleep abandoned her. She couldn't escape the whispers that now followed her even during the day. While walking to the kitchen, she heard the voice again, not from the radio, but from the very walls. "You brought it back." Every picture frame rattled, the light bulbs flickered, the farmhouse pulsed with an energy that felt alive. Then came a loud bang on the front door. 3 knocks, heavy, deliberate. Emma froze. When she opened the door, the fog outside seemed endless. No one was there, yet the muddy porch showed fresh footprints leading inside. That night, Emma decided to record the strange transmissions. She left her phone propped against the radio and pressed record. Then she sat across the room, waiting. At first, nothing but static. Then, at 2:46 a.m., a voice, clearer than before, male, cold. "We see you, Emma." Her chest tightened. They knew her name. The recording stopped on its own. The phone screen went black. And in the reflection of the glass, Emma swore she saw someone standing behind her, though the room was empty. Emma gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles went white. The message, "Run," burned on the screen, but where could she go? The fog outside pressed against the windows like a living thing. She couldn't even see the barn a few yards away. Then the voice returned, but this time it came from her phone instead of the radio. "You think the fog keeps you in, but it keeps them out." Her heart pounded. Them? How many were there? The front door creaked open by itself. Emma raised the phone like a shield, stepping back, waiting for something, or someone, to step through. Emma gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles went white. The message, "Run," burned on the screen, but where could she go? The fog outside pressed against the windows like a living thing. She couldn't even see the barn a few yards away. Then the voice returned, but this time it came from her phone instead of the radio. "You think the fog keeps you in, but it keeps them out." Her heart pounded. Them? How many were there? The front door creaked open by itself. Emma raised the phone like a shield, stepping back, waiting for something, or someone, to step through. Emma smashed the mirror with her fist. The glass shattered across the floor, but the whisper remained. She stumbled back, clutching her bleeding hand, as the radio in the living room clicked on again. No static this time, just breathing. Slow, steady, human. Then a calm voice said, "Part of you is already gone, the rest will follow." The flashlight flickered back to life on its own, its beam crawling across the living room floor. The light stopped on something scratched into the wood. Emma knelt down, reading the words carved deep into the floorboards. "Welcome to the signal." Emma's breath came in sharp gasps. The words scratched into the floor seemed to pulse under the beam of the flashlight. "Welcome to the signal." She stumbled backward. The boards beneath her feet creaked, then shifted. It was as if the house itself were alive. The static roared through the radio, then cut abruptly. Silence. And then, through every speaker, through every hidden frequency in the air, came dozens of voices whispering in unison. "You are one of us now," Emma screamed, clapping her hands over her ears, but the voices were inside her, threading themselves through her thoughts like wires. She couldn't stay in the house, not anymore. Emma grabbed her coat, shoved open the front door, and plunged into the choking fog. The night air was wet and heavy, muffling every sound. She could barely see her own hands, but the whispers followed her, from the trees, from the soil, from the very fog itself. Closer, closer, they beckoned. Through the haze she saw a faint light blinking in the distance. A tower, a signal beacon, the source. Her body moved on its own, dragging her toward it step by trembling step. As Emma approached the tower, the blinking grew faster like a heartbeat. The structure loomed impossibly tall, its steel bones rusted and bent. Old wires hung like veins across its frame. At the base of the tower, a door creaked open by itself. Beyond it, a staircase spiraled down into darkness. The whispers grew louder. Not many voices now, just one, a voice that matched her own. "Come down, Emma, we've been waiting." Her stomach turned cold. The signal didn't just want her to hear it, it wanted her to join it. She descended the spiral staircase, every step groaning under her weight. The deeper she went, the thicker the air became, vibrating with static. At the bottom lay a massive chamber lined with ancient broadcasting equipment. Broken dials, shattered screens, wires sparking faintly, and in the center of the room, an enormous radio, taller than Emma, its speakers cracked but still alive. From it poured her own voice, dozens of versions layered on top of each other, all whispering the same phrase. "Signal never goes away." The sound tore at her mind, shredding what little sanity she had left. Emma fell to her knees. The voices clawed inside her head until she could no longer tell which thoughts were hers. The static became unbearable. Then, silence. The enormous radio clicked off. In the darkness she heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. A faceless figure stepped into the faint light, towering over her. It leaned close, though it had no mouth, and whispered directly into her skull, "You are the signal now." The chamber lights flared, and for a brief second Emma saw her reflection in a shattered screen. Her face was gone. Only static remained. The broadcast began again, her voice carried into the night, spreading, endless, unstoppable. And far above the valley, every radio, every phone, every device whispered the same chilling truth. The last signal lives. And that was the story of the Watcher of Westfield, a mystery that still remains unsolved, leaving us to wonder who was truly watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more real horror tales, paranormal encounters, and chill around the world, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss a night of fear. This is only the beginning, and the darkness always has more to tell.